Hello, welcome back to Truth with J. Nick. Today I would like to do my best to look into the life of Yeshua bar Yosef, otherwise known as Jesus, son of Joseph and Mary. I will start with the biblical account of his genealogy, then we will move into locations, associations, writings, and more. But first, please do not forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons. And as always, we appreciate all. Yeshua's genealogy is laid out for us in Matthew 1 as follows. The book of the genealogy of Jesus Christ, the son of David, the son of Abraham. Abraham became the father of Isaac, and Isaac became the father of Jacob, and Jacob became the father of Judah and his brothers, and Judah became the father of Perez and Zerah by Tamar, and Perez became the father of Hezron, and Hezron became the father of Aram, and Aram became the father of Amminadab, and Amminadab became the father of Nahshon, and Nahshon became the father of Salmon, and Salmon became the father of Boaz by Rahab, and Boaz became the father of Obed by Ruth, and Obed became the father of Jesse, and Jesse became the father of David the king. And David became the father of Solomon by the wife of Uriah, and Solomon became the father of Rehoboam, and Rehoboam became the father of Abijah, and Abijah became the father of Asa, and Asa became the father of Jehoshaphat, and Jehoshaphat became the father of Joram, and Joram became the father of Uzziah, and Uzziah became the father of Jotham, and Jotham became the father of Ahaz, and Ahaz became the father of Hezekiah, and Hezekiah became the father of Manasseh, and Manasseh became the father of Ammon, and Ammon became the father of Josiah, and Josiah became the father of Jeconiah and his brothers, at the time of the deportation to Babylon. And after the deportation to Babylon, Jeconiah became the father of Shealtiel, and Shealtiel became the father of Zerubbabel, and Zerubbabel became the father of Abiad, and Abiad became the father of Eliakim, and Eliakim became the father of Azor, and Azor became the father of Zadok, and Zadok became the father of Achim, and Achim became the father of Eliud, and Eliud became the father of Eleazar, and Eleazar became the father of Mattan, and Mattan became the father of Jacob, and Jacob became the father of Joseph, the husband of Mary by whom was born Jesus, who is called Christ. Therefore all the generations from Abraham to David are 14 generations, and from David to the deportation to Babylon are 14 generations, and from the deportation to Babylon to the Christ are 14 generations. So that is 14 generations plus 14 plus 14 more. That is a total of 42 generations. A generation can consist of a variety of times, typically ranging from 15 to 49 years. That tells us dating these events are very difficult, so I am not even going to try. However, I will have to try and give an educated guess at times, so know that what they are. Okay, now let's move into any information we can find about his birth and in what location around what time he may have been born. We will have to use Matthew and Luke to find information about the location of Jesus' birth. In Matthew and Luke, they both agree Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea in the days of Herod the king. We can get an idea of the dates through this statement, as there are records of this king. Herod's rule lasted for approximately 33 years, from 37 BCE to 4 BCE. This tells us Jesus would have been born between around 7 BCE based on the statements and bits of information we have. From what we know about Herod, he was an appointed king by the Romans. Herod was a half-Jew and not from the proper lineage to be a Jewish king. In fear of losing his kingdom, he ordered that all male children under the age of 2 years old be killed. At this time, Joseph and Mary fled to Egypt to protect their child after Joseph had a dream in which God said to wake and flee with the child. So young Jesus was raised in Egypt for approximately 3 years until the death of Herod. This puts Jesus' age between 3 and 5 years old when Joseph had a dream where God told him the ones seeking the life of the child are now dead. Joseph was then told to take him back to Israel. At this time, Archelaus, son of Herod, was reigning over Judea. So they went back to a place called Nazareth. Hence the name Jesus the Nazarene. This is where canonical writings lose track of Jesus until the time of John the Baptist. However, we will now explore some other writings that may shed some light on the teenage years of Jesus. One apocryphal writing that is worth mentioning is the Arabic Infancy Gospel. This gospel, which is dated to the 6th century, tells the story of Jesus' childhood and early life. It includes a number of miraculous events, such as Jesus bringing a dead bird back to life and turning water into wine. The Infancy Gospel of Thomas is a non-canonical infancy gospel attributed to Thomas the Israelite. It is believed to have been written in the 2nd century AD and is one of the earliest known Christian apocryphal texts. The Gospel tells a series of stories about the childhood of Jesus, from his birth to his 12th year. The stories are often fantastical and miraculous, and they portray Jesus as a child with extraordinary powers. One of the most famous stories in the Infancy Gospel of Thomas is the story of Jesus bringing a dead bird back to life. In this story, Jesus is playing with some other children when he comes across a dead sparrow. He takes the sparrow in his hands and breathes on it, and the sparrow comes back to life. The other children are amazed by this miracle, and they begin to fear Jesus. In one story, Jesus is playing with clay when he creates 12 sparrows. He then commands the sparrows to fly away, and they do so. In another story, Jesus is playing with other children when he curses one of them. The child immediately falls down and dies. Towards the end, Jesus returns the life of the child. Another famous story in the Infancy Gospel of Thomas is the story of Jesus turning water into wine. In this story, Jesus is attending a wedding feast when he realizes that the wine has run out. He asks the host for some water, and then he turns the water into wine. The guests at the wedding feast are amazed by this miracle, and they begin to believe that Jesus is one of the Messiahs. The Infancy Gospel of Thomas is a popular text among some Christians, but it is not considered to be authoritative. The Gospel is not part of any canonical Bible. However, the Gospel is still an interesting and valuable source of information about the early Christian imagination. It shows how early Christians thought about the childhood of Jesus, and it provides us with a window into the world of early Christian Apocrypha. There are more sources to look into, and I suggest you do. At this point, we will be looking into the locations in which Jesus traveled and the types of work he may have done. This work will be the physical labor like family business. While the Bible does not explicitly state what Jesus' family business was, it is generally believed that he was a carpenter, just like his father Joseph. This is based on several passages in the Gospels, including Mark 6 verse 3, "Is not this the carpenter, the son of Mary?" Matthew 13 verse 55, "Is not this the carpenter's son?" Luke 4 verse 22, "Is not this Joseph's son, the carpenter?" In addition to these direct references, there are other clues in the Gospels that suggest Jesus was a carpenter. For example, he is often referred to as the carpenter's son even after he has begun his public ministry. This suggests that carpentry was an important part of his life, even after he started teaching and preaching. Of course, it is also possible that Jesus was not a literal carpenter, but rather that the word carpenter is being used metaphorically in the Gospels. Some scholars have argued that Jesus was actually a stonemason, or that he was simply a skilled craftsman who worked with a variety of materials. However, the most likely interpretation is that Jesus was a carpenter, just like his father. Jesus' ministry took him to various locations throughout the Holy Land, spanning from Galilee in the north to Judea in the south. These places hold significant importance in Christian tradition, as they represent the scenes of Jesus' teachings, miracles, and eventual crucifixion. Here's a brief overview of the key locations Jesus traveled to. Nazareth, Jesus' hometown, where he spent his childhood and early years. It's believed to be the site of the Annunciation, where the angel Gabriel informed Mary that she would bear the Son of God. Capernaum, a fishing town on the shores of the Sea of Galilee, where Jesus established his base for much of his ministry. He performed numerous miracles there, including healing the sick and casting out demons. Sea of Galilee, a freshwater lake where Jesus walked on water, calmed a storm, and performed other miraculous feats. It was also the site of the call of the first disciples, including Peter, James, and John. Mount of Olives, a hill overlooking Jerusalem, where Jesus delivered the Sermon on the Mount, one of his most famous teachings. It's also the place where he ascended into heaven after his resurrection. Jerusalem, the capital city of Judea, where Jesus made several pilgrimages for Jewish festivals. He cleansed the temple, delivered powerful teachings, and ultimately faced trial and crucifixion there. Other locations, Jesus also traveled to various other places, including Cana of Galilee, where he turned water into wine, Nain, where he raised a widow's son, and Jericho, where he healed a blind beggar. These locations represent the physical and spiritual journey of Jesus, his teachings, miracles, and ultimate sacrifice. They continue to hold deep significance for Christians worldwide, serving as reminders of Jesus' life, ministry, and message of love, redemption, and salvation.